Welcome. This lesson is for BSc First Semester 1 students. The lesson is from Animal Diversity of Invertebrates. The topic is macrobrachium. Macrobrachium is a scientific name of prawn. This lesson enables the learners to know and understand about the habit and habitat of prawn, its systemic position, external characters, appendages, body wall and coelom. This is the image of Macrobrachium malcolmsoni. Previously, this species was called as, the genus Macrobrachium was called as Palemon malcolmsoni, but recently it is renamed as Macrobrachium malcolmsoni. So the Palemon or Macrobrachium is commonly called as prawn. It is found in the tropical regions. It is found in freshwater streams, ponds, lakes and rivers all over India. The most common Indian species include Palemon malcolmsoni, Palemon carcinus, Palemon iria, Palemon rudis and Palemon lameri. Palemon is being recently called as Macrobrachium. The systemic position of Palemon is, it belongs to the phylum Arthropoda, class Crustacea, subclass Malacostraca, order Decapoda, subclass Macrura. The genus is Palemon, species Palemon malcolmsoni. Now let us see the habit and habitat. It inhabits mostly the freshwater streams, rivers and lakes and ponds. It is benthic in nature, that is, it remains in the deeper waters. During the daytime it will remain in the deep waters, and it is nocturnal and it comes to the outside to feed during the night times. It mostly feeds on algae, mosses and other weeds, small insects and debris. It usually breeds in May, June and July seasons. Coming to the external features, the size of the Palemon varies from species to species. The adult of Central Province and Madras is usually 25 to 38 centimeters and some species are about 90 centimeters. The body is elongated, almost spindle shaped, and this is a bilaterally symmetrical animal. The color is, the young ones are transparent, pale yellow or perfectly white in appearance. Adults are differently tinted. Generally, the adult is pale blue or greenish with brown or orange-red patches and bands of different patterns. The divisions of the body is divided into two parts. This part is called as cephalothorax and this region is called as abdomen. So the body is divided into two parts. One is cephalothorax and the second is abdomen. Cephalothorax, the cephalothorax region, it is cylindrical and unjointed, and this cephalothorax is formed by the union of head and thoracic regions. So the head bears 5 segments and the thorax comprises about 8 segments. And coming to the abdomen, abdomen is rounded dorsally, but it is laterally compressed and it consists of 6 segments. The abdomen consists of 6 segments and these segments are movable, and the terminal segment is called as telson. So all the segments will carry a pair of appendages. Now let us see about the exoskeleton of prawn. The entire body is covered by exoskeleton. The appendages are also covered by the exoskeleton, and this exoskeleton is made up of chitinous cuticle. The exoskeleton is hardened by a deposit of salts and lime, and it is colored with various pigments. The hard pieces of the exoskeleton are called as sclerites, and these are joined by a soft tissue called arthrodial membrane. So the exoskeleton covering the head is called as dorsal plate, and the thorax is called carapace. The dorsal plate and carapace are fused to form a dorsal shield. This dorsal shield is produced in front in the form of, this is the rostrum. This rostrum is laterally compressed and it is serrated. At the base of the rostrum there is an orbital notch, and this orbital notch accommodates the stalk of the compound eye. The dorsal plate has two short spines on each side. One is antennal spine and the other is called hepatic spine. The carapace hangs down on the sides of the thorax as branchiostygite. This is also called as lateral plate, and it encloses the gill chamber. On the ventral side of the head and thorax are chitinous sclerites are present, and these chitinous sclerites are called as sternum. So the cephalothorax, it is joined to the abdomen by a calcified and hardened arthrodial membrane. The dorsal shield covers the thorax and head dorsally as well as laterally, but on the ventral side we can observe sternum. It is covered by sternum. The first sternal plate is called as ophthalmic sternum, and the second is called antenular sternum, and third antennal sternum. And to this antennal sternum, labrum is attached. Labrum is nothing but it is considered as the upper lip, and in between third and fourth segments, sternum is absent. Between 5 to 13 segments, the sternum of all these segments from the 5th to 13th segments are fused to form floor, and on the sides the sclerites called epimera are present. The side sclerites are called as epimera. So in the abdominal region, the dorsal plate is called as stergum, and this is broad. The ventral sclerite is called as sternum, and this is narrow. And on each side, the scleral plate is called as pleura. Singular is called as pleuron. So there is a small structure called epimeron. It is a part of the pleuron, and with the help of this, the appendages the join to the thorax and abdomen. So in between the different terga of different segments, there is intertergal arthrodial membrane. It joins the terga of different segments, and the sternum of all the segments are joined by intersternal arthrodial membrane. So there are also some ball and socket joints and hinge joints on the sides where they are attached. And between third and fourth segments, there is a ventral mouth with a labrum in front and labium behind. Labium is a lower lip. So this is the image showing some of the sclerites. We can see here, this is a tergum. This is a tergum, and this is a sternum, and here we can see the pleuron, and this is the epimeron. Epimeron is a part of pleuron through which the appendages attach to the thorax and abdomen. Now endophragmal skeleton. So endophragmal skeleton is the internal skeleton present in the brain. So this is formed by the union of some structures called apodemes. Apodemes are formed by the union of ingrowth of the cuticle. The cuticle which is present over the body, it grows inside and forms the apodemes. These apodemes are useful for insertion of muscles. So this apodeme consists of rods like structures between epimera and sterno of cephalothorax. So these are very best developed in segments between 3rd and 4th, 11th and 12th and 13th. So the cephalic apodeme is present between 3rd and 4th segments. Two apodemes, they are united together on each side between 3rd and 4th are united together by a transverse fibrous bond, and this cephalic apodeme, it helps in the attachment of mandibular muscles. And an endopleurite arises from epimeron and endosternite arises from sternum in the succeeding segments. That is behind the 4th segment, that is from the 5th segment, endopleurite arises from epimeron and endosternite arises from sternum regions. Between 11 and 12 and 12 and 13, a Y-shaped rod arises from the endosternite on each side. So there are two arms in this rod-like structure. Its inner one is called as mesophragm and the outer one is called as paraphragm, and both these meso and paraphragm are used for the attachment of flexor abdominal muscles. From the ventrolateral margins of each segment, appendages or limbs arise. In prawn, there are 19 pairs of appendages. The head region has 5 pairs of appendages, and in the thorax region 8 pairs of appendages are present, and in the abdominal region 6 pairs of appendages are seen. All these appendages are biramous except the first pair is uniramous in nature. So the first pair is completely different from the remaining segments, remaining appendages. So here we can see these are the different appendages of prawn. The head region has 5 segments. These are the 5 appendages attached to the ventrolateral margin of the each segment present in the head. They are called as cephalic appendages. And the appendages which are present in the thoracic region, there are about 8 segments in the thoracic region, and these are called as thoracic appendages. And in the abdominal region 6 segments are present, and from the ventrolateral margin of these segments abdominal appendages arise. Each appendage, it has a basal stalk at its base, and that is called as protopodite. So this protopodite is made of 2 podomeres. Those podomeres are called as coxon and basis. From this arise 2 branches. One is towards inner side, the other towards the outer. The inner branch is called as endopodite and the outer branch is called exopodite. So the podomeres are the individual structures which are present in each appendage. They are joined by some structure called arthrodial membrane. The arthrodial membrane joins the podomeres which are present in an appendage. So each podomere has 2 types of muscles in it which are attached to the inner surface of the cuticle. So these muscles are 2 protractor muscles and 2 retractor muscles. So these muscles help in the flexion and extension of they help the contraction and relaxation of these muscles help in the movement of the appendages. So here we can see that in vertebrates the muscles are attached to the endoskeleton, on the surface of the endoskeleton, whereas here the muscles are attached to the inner surface of the cuticle. Cuticle is nothing but it is exoskeleton. So, and these podomeres and these appendages, they consist of the joints and the muscles are present. With the help of this, these podomeres, the appendages are able to move. Generally, the appendages are of two types. One is stenopodium and the other is phylopodium. Stenopodium, it has a slender limb-like structure. A slender limb is present. That is, it's exopodite and endopodite. Both are set on a common stalk. So, such appendage is called as stenopodium. And the second type is a phylopodium. The phylopodium, it is leaf-like, that is, it is broad, and its exopodite and endopodite, they do not fork like stenopodium. So now let us study in detail the appendages which are situated in three different regions, that is head region, thoracic region and abdominal region. First, cephalic appendages. So these are the cephalic appendages. There are 5 cephalic appendages, namely antennules, antenna, mandible, maxillula and maxilla. These are the 5 pairs of cephalic appendages. Now let us study each pair of appendage in detail. So this is the first pair, which is uniramus. It is different from all other appendages which are biramus in nature. So each appendage, it consists of a protopodite, usually consisting of coxa and basis. But the antennule consists of 3 podomeres, namely the first one is called as precoxa. This is the precoxa. So this is precoxa and this is coxa and this is the basis. So 3 segments are present. Precoxa has a depression in it. Depression is present, and in this depression statocyst is present. So on its outer margin we can see stylocerite. So the coxa is short and cylindrical. This is the coxa, and basis is elongated than coxa. It is somewhat large, and from the basis arise 2 long feelers, 2 long podomeres. They are called as feelers. So this is the inner feeler and this is the outer feeler. The outer feeler is again divided into 2 unequal branches. So this is the structure of the antennule. The antennule, its main function is tactile. These feelers help, they help in sensing the touch, and this statocyst helps in maintenance of equilibrium. So this is the second appendage called antenna. So antenna has the protopodites. This is the coxa and basis are present. So this protopodite, it appears swollen due to the presence of excretory organ in it. So that excretory organ it opens out by renal aperture. So here the coxa is it is not it is thin and slender, and this is the basis, somewhat broad, long, and the exopodite is very much broad leaf like, and this exopodite is called as squama. And to the inner and distal margins of this exopodite, setae are present, and these setae, they are assumed to be they help in balancing. And the endopodite, which arises from the basis, it is a feeler like, long feeler like, and in total this antenna has three functions. One is it helps in balancing during swimming with the help of the setae, help in that, and due to the presence of excretory organ, it helps in excretion, and it is also tactile in function. So the third appendage is mandible. So here the coxa is very large in the mandible, and these mandibles, they are present on either side of the mandibles are present on either side of the mouth region. Here this is the coxa. Coxa, it has some spoon shaped structure, and this spoon shaped structure is called as apophysis. And there is another structure, this is somewhat head like structure, and it has two branch like structures. So here there are two processes. The head bears two processes. One is a molar process and the other is incisor process. The molar process has some flat plate like nearly 6 plates are present in the molar process, and the incisor process has 3 teeth are present in the incisor process. And from here the protopodite, in this mandible there is a maxillary pulp. It extends from the inner margin, and this maxillary pulp has 3 segments. The first two segments, they are considered as the basis of the protopodite, and this total is the coxa, and this the third one is considered as endopodite, and in total exopodite is absent in mandible. So this mandible is masticatory in function. The function is it helps in chewing the food materials. The fourth appendage is maxilla. So this the fourth appendage is maxillula. This maxillula has a protopodite, that is coxa and basis are present. The coxa and basis, they project inward, and they project in the form of jaws towards inside. They are also called as gnathobases. They have at their end the bristles are present. These are the bristles here. And then exopodite is completely absent here. The endopodite, it bifurcates into two, and it has some setae. The outer one has, it is bifurcated, and the outer one has some setae. So this maxillula helps in passing the food into the mouth. And next is maxilla. Maxilla, the coxa is very small, and it is incompletely divided here, and this is the basis. The basis is projected inward. It is bifurcated into two jaws or gnathobases, and they have setae at their end. And this is endopodite. Endopodite is also having the setae at its end, and the exopodite is very large. This is the exopodite. This is very large fan shape, and it projects into the scaphonathite of gill chamber, and its margin is covered by plumose bristles. It helps in creating the water current in the gill chamber. So the functions of the maxilla are, it helps in respiration. It helps in respiration as it is associated with gill chamber, and it also helps in feeding. So these are the thoracic appendages, and this is the thoracic appendages are totally in 8 appendages are present. The first 3 are called maxillipedes, and there are the rest of the 5 are called as walking legs. So they are leaf-like, and they are called as Fillopodium. So this is a coxa, and upon this basis is present. From the coxa arise a bilobe epipodite, and the endopodite arises from the basis, and it is slender. The exopodite also arises from the basis, and it is very long. So due to the presence of epipodites, this first maxillipede, it helps in respiration, as it is associated with the epipodite is associated with the respiratory system, and it also serves to hold the food, and due to the presence of setae, it is tactile in function. And the second maxillipede has coxa, basis, and attached to the coxa there is epipodite to which the gill is attached. The basis has 5 segmented endopodite. The first part is called ischium, meatus, carpus, propodus, and this is a dactylus. Propodus and dactylus are parallel to each other. The exopodite is very long and slender, and it is covered with setae. The dactylus is also covered with setae. So coxa. So all these setae, due to the presence of setae, sensory setae, they are tactile in function. Due to the presence of gill and epipodite, they are respiratory in function, and maxillipedes also help in holding the food. So this epipodite, and here we can see exopodite. Exopodite is long and slender, and it is densely covered with setae, and from the basis arise the endopodite, and the endopodite, it has 5 segments, but here they are united. The ischium and meatus are united, and they together form one segment, and this is a carpus. And the propodus and dactylus both of them are united together, and only 3 jointed endopodite is seen in third maxillipede, and this third maxillipede helps in holding the food, as well as due to the presence of setae, it is also tactile in nature, and due to the presence of the epipodite, it is respiratory in nature. It is respiratory in function. Now let us see about the thoracic legs, that is, they are called as walking legs. So these are 5 pairs and long in structure. So here this is a typical non-chelate leg. The legs can be divided into 2 types, chelate legs and non-chelate legs. So in the chelate legs, we can see this is the first chelate leg, this is the second chelate leg, and this is the second chelate leg in male. So here this is a typical non-chelate leg. Here we can see the protopodite, there is the coxa and basis are present. They are ring-like, coxa is ring-like and the basis is triangular in structure. So in this chelate leg, in the walking leg, the epipodites are absent and exopodites are absent, only endopodite is present. So this is the endopodite consisting of ischium, merus, carpus, propodes and dactylus. All the 5 podomeres are present in the endopodite. So this is called as, this is a typical structure of the chelate leg. Non-chelate leg or walking leg has this type of structure. But in chelate leg, there is some difference. You can see here, this is the first chelate leg, coxa, basis is triangular here. Ischium, merus, and then carpus and propodes. So this propodes extends beyond the dactylus, and here they together form the blade-like structures as in forceps. So this is the structure of chelate leg, and this is the second chelate leg present in female. It also has coxa, basis, ischium, merus, carpus, and here the propodes along with dactylus, here they form the chelate. So this chelate, it helps in, they are called as chelate, and this helps in catching the prey. The chelate helps in catching the prey, and this is a chelate leg in male. So attached to this second chelate leg in female, we can see near the coxa there is female genital aperture, and in the male, the male genital aperture we can see in the fifth leg, and this aperture, it lies in the inner side of the arthrodial membrane connecting the leg and the thoracic region. So these chelate legs, they help in chelate, both chelate and non-chelate legs, they help in walking. In addition to this, the chelate legs, the chela present here, this helps in catching the prey. So they help both in walking, catching the prey, and also they are tactile in function. These are the abdominal appendages. They are called as pleopods or swimmerets. So these are a typical biramus type. So we can take the third abdominal appendage as a typical appendage. So here it consists of a small coxa and some broad basis is present, and there is endopodite, and exopodite is somewhat broader than the endopodite. Endopodite is smaller than exopodite, and towards the inner side, rising from this basis, we can see a small tube-like structure called appendix interna. So there is a knob-like structure here, and it has some hook-like structures at its knob. So this endopodite and exopodite bases are fringed with setae. So this is a typical abdominal appendage. And in the second, third, fourth and fifth abdominal appendages in the female, the appendix interna of each opposite side unite together to form a bridge-like structure, and during the breeding season the eggs are attached to this bridge like structure. So the appendix interna of second, third and fourth abdominal appendages or opposite appendages, they come closer together, they interlocks together the appendix interna and form a bridge like structure in order to carry the eggs during breeding season in female. So this is the first abdominal appendage. Here we can see the coxa. Basis is small, basis is somewhat large, and a small endopodite is present. When we compare with typical abdominal appendage, the endopodite is smaller and exopodite is larger here as usual, and they consist of the setae. And next, this is a second abdominal appendage, coxa, basis, and here this is the second abdominal appendage of male. Apart from this is endopodite and this is exopodite. Apart from appendix interna, in male we can see another tube-like structure. This is called as appendix masculina. So this is the difference from the typical abdominal appendage in male, and it is appendix masculina is present in second abdominal appendage. And this is the last sixth abdominal appendage. It is called as uropod. Here the coxa and basis, they unite together and form the sympod, and this is a broad endopodite and this is exopodite. They are oar-shaped structures, both endopodite and exopodite, and the exopodite is divided by a oblique structure, a suture-like structure. It divides the exopodite, and this is called as uropod. So this uropod, along with the tail fin, so along with the telson, on either side of the telson, this uropod is present. Telson along with the uropod, they together they form the tail fin. So this helps in swimming. All these abdominal appendages, they are help in swimming. And apart from that, the second of male, and they are associated with reproduction also, with the presence of appendix masculina and appendix interna in female. They form a bridge-like structure to carry the eggs. And due to the presence of the setae, they are tactile in function also. Now let us see about the body wall. This is the TS of the body wall. The body wall consists of three layers. This is the cuticle, this is the epidermis, and this is the dermis. Epidermis and this is the dermis. This whole thing is the cuticle. So the cuticle is the outermost layer, and this cuticle is again divided into two layers. The outer one is called as epicuticle and the inner one is called endocuticle. The cuticle is the epicuticle. It is non-chitinous in nature and it is secreted by the tegumentary glands which are present in the dermis. So here the epicuticle has two layers. One is lipoid layer and the second is the protein layer. And below this is the endocuticle consisting of three layers. One is a pigmented layer. This pigmented layer consists of some protein deposits which are helpful in tanning and sclerotization. And second layer is called the there is a calcified layer, and this calcified layer here we can see the calcified layer, we can see some deposits of calcium phosphates and carbonates of calcium, and it is hardened layer. It is hard, and it stores chitin. So this endocuticle is made up of chitin, and below this is the uncalcified layer. So this is about the cuticle, and below this we can see the epidermis with the columnar cells. It is single layered epidermis, and below this there is a thin basement membrane, and below the basement membrane dermis is seen. Dermis is made up of a connective tissue. We can observe blood lacuna are present here and there, and tegumentary glands are present. And here the tegumentary gland cells, they unite together. The cells have nuclei at their base, and they have a capillary duct each cell, and these capillary ducts unite together and form a common duct called tegumentary gland duct, and it opens to the outside near the cuticle. So this epicuticle is non-chitinous, and here and there we can see the what is called setae-like structures which fringe out from within. So this is the structure of the body wall, and we can also see some chromatophores in the dermis region. Endocuticle is chitinous and epicuticle is non-chitinous. And now let us see about the body cavity or coelom. In prawn, the true coelom is very much reduced. It is confined only to the gonads and kidneys. The coelom is called as hemocoel, as it is associated with blood. And the type of coelom here in arthropods is a schizocoelom. Now a recap of the lesson. So we have studied the systemic position of prawn. Scientific name is Palaemon. In recent times it is being called as macrobrachium. So this macrobrachium, the body is divided into two regions, head and thorax. They together form the cephalothorax, and this is the abdomen. It has some exoskeleton is present made up of chitin, and then we have studied about the appendages. Prawn has 19 pairs of appendages, 5 pairs in the head region, 8 pairs in the thoracic region, and 6 in the abdominal region. We have studied about the body wall. Body wall is made up of cuticle, epidermis and dermis, and the body cavity. The body cavity is reduced and it is called as hemocoel.